Our next set of speakers, Anshuman Sinha, co-founder of Startup Stereoid. Welcome, sir. Mr. Vivek Kastwar, Chief Executive Officer at AHLI United Bank. Mr. Sheetal Soni, Managing Partner of MICS. Mr. Alkabazi Khalifa from UAE. Ms. Denzi Zhou, Regional Head of Chinese Multinationals HSBC. And to moderate the panel, we have Paras Bharat, Program Director, Regional Head of Special Strategic C-Suite Programs. We welcome all of you on the stage, and over to you, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We had a fantastic panel discussion this morning, and no pressure, guys, but we need to be better. We need to be better. This panel, we're going to be talking about the global view of the startup ecosystem. So I think it's a fantastic topic. We have a fantastic star-studded international panel with us here, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a second. But a quick introduction about me, if you guys are interested in 1 minute. So I'm Paras Bharat, obviously, and I currently live in Dubai. I'm born in London, actually, and spent most of my life in the corporate world and working with major financial organizations on business strategy and the corporate sort of transformation world. Also lived in Canada for 5 years, and I'm currently living in Dubai. I'm also sort of looking into angel investing. I've invested in a startup company and sort of represent a few high net worth individuals in Europe. So looking at sort of M&A targets, et cetera, and sort of investment opportunities. And India is an incredible place to do that. So first things first, I think I will ask the panel to introduce themselves in 2 minutes, if they're up for it. And maybe, Vivek, do you want to go first?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vivek Kastwar. I'm a CEO of a bank in Middle East, which is a regional bank called AHLI United Bank, Al United Bank. Traditionally, corporate banker, have grown to the CEO position. Startup I do as my personal hobby or choice. And glad to be here in the city of Surat. Such an overwhelming experience to see so many participants here and such a buzz. Thank you again.
I should go ahead?
Yep, go ahead, Anshuman. Yep.
Okay, my name is Anshuman Sinha. I'm coming here from Los Angeles. I was born in Bihar, educated in Bihar, and then went to Los Angeles in 1998, living there for the last 26 years. I'm part of TIE, the Indus Entrepreneur, and I was the president of TIE Southern California for 2 years, grew that chapter and launched 2 funds over there. We have a portfolio of about 40 companies in there. My personal portfolio is 20 direct investment and the others through the portfolio company. And I'm also a startup founder, which I started at the age of 50. So again, we will talk about age is just a number, and you can start your startup journey at any given point of time. I help startups to raise funds also by guiding them, by mentoring them. And I'll be happy to connect with any of you after this event.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Sheetal,
very good morning. And, I'm really glad to be in Surat yet again. This is my 3rd event that I am attending back to back. And I've seen the growth of 21 by 72. This is mind-blowing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm here to learn, because the amount of energy that we see here is something that we miss, where we live. So as far as, my personal introduction is concerned, I am a finance professional. My forte, as I always say, is between strategic and operational finance. And I run a firm in Dubai called MI Capital Services, mainly focusing on strategic and operational finance. This is my, and also we try to solve, we want to intend to help in startup ecosystem develop in Dubai, in UAE. And for that, I think this is the main reason that I have been coming to Dubai, and I have made friends like Pratik, and we want to replicate the success story that India is seeing and this 21 by 72 is seeing in UAE. So this is our intention as we go along.
Amazing. That's so inspiring. Thank you so much, Sheetal, for sharing that. Khalifa, over to you. Do you want to grab that mic? There we go.
Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Khalif Al-Kubaisi. Currently I'm working with my friend Pratik and Shital and MIC as a partner there, but I still hold some previous CFO's positions in Abu Dhabi government under UAE. And I'm really interested in this summit. I have attended the first one. I skipped last year because of my busy time, but I made sure this year to come back in here, and I've seen so many improvement throughout the years that I think in the panel we'll have. They gave me some tough questions. I'll try to answer for you guys, and it is nice to see you everyone here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Khalifa. And we're glad you're here in Gujarat again. And finally, Denise, last but not least, over to you.
Thank you. It's very honored to be invited here. My name is Denise. I'm a corporate banker, which focuses on the corridor business. So since our topic is corridor, so I feel it's really a subject of my heart. I spent the last decade helping, when I mentioned about corridor, is that I spent the last decades helping corporates going abroad for the investors, foreigner investors going to China, and now I'm focusing on the Chinese companies, Asian companies coming to MENA. So I located in Dubai, based in Dubai, and MENA means, of course, you know, the Middle East and North Africa. And also, I'm from a family. My family founded a business which was now the largest chain of watch retail. So I have lots of aspiration to help startup companies and being volunteer in the social responsibility space as advisor to ESG startup and the women startups. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, really inspiring and a great background there. Denise, if you don't mind passing the mic over. I think the first question I'll send probably Anshuman's way, if you don't mind. So my first question to you, Anshuman, I think, you know, we have lots and lots of amazing startup founders here at the event today. You know, you are obviously based out of Los Angeles in America, you know, investing in various companies, representing investors that are looking into this region. What would you say sort of high level, macro level, sort of are you seeing from an appetite of India and, you know, people looking towards India for an investment? What's your sort of general trend and viewpoint?
So India is very attractive to the US investors, and the thing is the calculation of 83, you know, $1 is 83 rupees today. So, you know, a $100,000 investment, which is 10 investors coming in, pooling in $10,000 each, becomes 1 crore rupee of investment here. So it is very, very attractive. The valuation, obviously, we can negotiate and, you know, work on that. Just think of this, you know, there are 526 Apple store all around the world. Out of that, there are 2 stores where Tim Cook went and opened it. And the last one was in India, in Mumbai. So what does that tell you? You know, he didn't come here to cut a ribbon. He came here to see the ecosystem. He came here to partner with the government of India to look at a startup ecosystem and, you know, start investing in them, you know, pick up early stage emerging companies out there. You know, all these large corporations, be that banks, like, you know, Bank of America, ICICI Bank, all these have scouting services going on for emerging technology in fintech and, you know, wherever they are. So India is very, very attractive. The population is growing. People are doing startups. The only challenge is that, you know, which is a real startup and which is just after the money and the valuation game and all. But, you know, the SETU, that Government of India and, you know, Startup India concept has kicked in. The embassies are doing great stuff in identifying the startup and giving it to us as a curation. There are platforms available. One is my own platform, which is adopted by TAI, the Indus Entrepreneur. There are 24 chapters, 3,000 accredited investors. And all these are looking at a startup for startup funding. And India is very, very attractive to us right now.
Fantastic. That's really great to hear. And I'm sure a lot of startup founders are excited to hear that. You know, it looks like America and I guess the West is looking towards India, as is the rest of the world as well, actually. So I appreciate that insight. Over to Vivek, if you don't mind. I think you've got a very interesting, you know, stakeholder relationship from your corporate sort of world, in the banking world, towards sort of this ecosystem. And obviously you've got a fantastic geographical experience in the Middle East. Recently I think you spent a lot of time in various countries. So I'd say sort of firsthand, what do you think the Middle East have done really well? I mean, and sort of, in terms of incubating sort of startup and the environment, which I think India might be able to replicate, hopefully. So any thoughts around that?
Yeah, sure. So, basically Middle East has implemented several initiatives. The prominent ones would be UAE's Dubai Future Accelerator program, which has facilitated over 130 projects, and the investment has gone more than $70 million. Additionally, Saudi Arabia, their Vision 2030, which includes establishment of special economic zones, innovation hubs, and that's how they are attracting significant foreign investments. In addition to that, the very critical factor which really becomes behind the globalization of the startup is the interaction. That's the visa regime which UAE has done. They have facilitated, let's say, 10 years visa for the entrepreneurs. You can go there, you can start your business, you will get a 10-year visa, you are free. You can, and that's a gateway to the Middle East. The UAE and Dubai per se is the gateway to the Middle East. You have a huge market, MENA region at your disposal. So those are the critical factors which probably, will.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, thank you so much. Appreciate that, Vivek. That's great insight. Over to you, Shital. Once again, you've got some very unique experience and insight into the fact of, companies that are looking to expanding and sort of growing regions in the world, and obviously the Middle East is one as well. In terms of your experience of how India and the Middle East, for example, has connected, and obviously I think you're connected quite well to both regions, what has your experience been, and where do you see the trajectory of that collaboration between India and the Middle East?
Yeah, see, having been in Middle East for about 2 decades now, I can certainly see there is a FOMO in Middle East. FOMO with respect to, catching up with the speed of the world. Middle Eastern investors they have been traditional investors, hydrocarbon base, very traditional industry. The one thing which they have not been unlocked is the technology part of the, GDP. And that's where they see, and there is a bit of a FOMO. From our perspective, we are seeing lot of, I think we have seen 2 types of, companies coming to Middle East. One is to expand the operation, another one is to raise the capital. We have seen, as far as the raising of capital is concerned, limited success because, a good deal doesn't fly from India to UAE to fund. Good deal gets funded in India itself, at the same place itself. And I have a very interesting story where Partha Sarthi, if you know, the founder of Mindtree, he sold Mindtree to Infosys long time back. And he visited UAE for the first time in 2014. He said that, a good deal doesn't fly from Silicon Valley to Los Angeles even, right? So I imagine a deal coming from there to Dubai and you need to discount it. So that happens. And the second kind of, companies that do come here is to expand. And we have seen, again, in this category, 2 types of companies. I mean, those who burn out very fast, I think Baiju wanted to set up, there was a great plans that they had in expanding in the whole Arabic-speaking world, which includes MENA, right? So, but whatever happened in India, in fact, put their plans at the back burner, and then we see traditional companies, in the education space, they are coming and expanding very well and we are helping some of them already. Pratik knows about it. And then we see, we have seen companies like Book My Show. They came to Dubai, they did really well, and then they ended up winding back. I think what the lesson that we have learned from Book My Show is that they have burned themselves in India, and then they couldn't sustain the growth that they wanted to do in their international expansion. Then we are now seeing a great trend when it comes to fintech, gaming, SaaS. I mean, I myself am using, for our own clients, we are using Zoho as an accounting software. And that is something that we promote very well. And and this is a great Indian, SaaS-based success story. Second thing which I am always using myself and addicted to it, in fact, I have to say that including my daughter, is Zomato. I think Zomato has been a great success story, and they have been expanding very well in the whole, I think at least in UAE, I see the Zomato, and we have been using it quite well. Now we are also seeing gaming companies. I have not seen a great, I mean, I think that will be the trend that will, many of the Middle Eastern investors are looking, and they want to ride the gaming startups that coming from out of India region. The fourth thing that I see is a fintech, Paytm. I hope Paytm comes back again. It looks like it will come back. So they had some plans, and then this launch of RuPay and the Bharat Pay, and these kind of companies are doing really, really well in the global space, and disrupting the traditional banking industry that exists in our part of the world. So there are quite few trends where I see that India creating a lot of value, and I think in 2014 we never used to hear about startup. I think the times have changed as far as Middle East is concerned, and I think the power of compounding will play its role, and we'll see 5-10 years down the line, India will overwhelm the global space when it comes to the startup ecosystem is concerned.
Amazing. No, thanks. Fantastic insight, Sheetal. And I totally concur with what you're saying. I mean, the fact we have such a great international panel here in India and certainly in Gujarat as well, I mean, it's testament to the fact, as what you talked about, how India is on the startup map. And I love your energy as well, so I appreciate that massively. Khalifa, I think you've got some fantastic sort of unique insight as well in certainly the Middle East area as well, and the UAE. Certainly in terms of, I think, when I think about the UAE, I think what's been very successful is the ability to attract talent, the ability to attract sort of companies and people to want to be there, which I think India is sort of starting off from that perspective. What sort of would you say would be sort of trends and areas that you think that, the UAE, for example, or the Middle East generally have done quite well from that sort of talent attraction and company attraction perspective?
Yeah, thank you for asking this tough questions. I think here what we are trying to look at it, what are we trying to connect here? I always look at it as a three-way match, where I can find the startups, the successful ones, trying to connect it with the venture capital, funds, or capital. At the same time, the third angle of it is the regulations or the authorities. So our three-way matches always goes on. So I'm trying to think to bring some successful ideas from UAE regarding these three-way matches, because always they are tied, they are part of the ecosystem. I would, as panelists say in the previous panel, they said about the ecosystem. What we are talking about the ecosystem. Ecosystem is not only startups, it's regulations. It's a friendly regulation where people can be nursed as a nursery here. The startups is always a small baby that wants to grow, wants to be fed, wants to be put in a good environment that people can always keep growing organically and do the math for that one. So what basically I'm looking for here, I've been through the first round in Ivy, and this is the third one I'm attending, the second of mine. But I think regulations are still working on it, but that is not the speed of the ambition of the startups. People in the startups and investment side as investors, they are looking for a much speedier way to catch up the laws and regulations and have a friendly environment. Because today I'm looking to bring dollars from outside to India, and at the same time, I want to get the dollars out and in. So I think friendly regulation is a key point in here where we need to focus on it. And I think because we have a good network in Surat, I've seen many authorities here, we have always to enlighten them in this point. We have to have a friendly regulations. And the other side regarding the startups, I would like to catch up the 3 points very quickly. And the startup sides. I've been through several investment here and startups here. They are trying to come up with the copy-paste ideas from different parts of the world. There are some genuine really genuine cases where I got into and new ideas, and they are brilliant here. And the thing is that what we need to do is to have some sort of part of our ecosystem in Surat, and education academies, an education system that where we can educate the startups. I know the startups is very specific subject discipline that he is not aware of the rest of it. Valuation is one part, regulation is another part. The other things that you need to teach these guys. These are entrepreneurs. He has his idea, he wants to grow a specific subject in his mind, but what about the other aspects that he's not aware of? So we saw so many startups died even before, and they are brilliant ideas. They died before we see them on the ground. The same goes for I want to step to the second point here, or the third point, where we are talking about the investment. The investment requires, I would say always, the capital is very fair, has very sensitivity regarding the risk and assessment and all of this. So we kind of trying to, or we need to try to create an ecosystem mainly in Surat. I see Surat is very nice and very tangible, successful idea where we need to leverage on that one to show that investors coming to Surat, it's a trusted place, it's a low risk place, okay, and has many successful stories. It's about successful stories. People are attracted to places where I can bring a money and get some good ideas in regard. So this is, I think, our three-way match where I think most of us should think of it. Because one time I see some people are talking about startups, and sometimes people are talking about money, and sometimes about regulation. But somehow, I think, and this event, I think, and my discussion yesterday with Shital and Pratik, we specifically trying to talk about these kind of things, how we can connect these three-way matches and make the bigger ecosystem. It's not an isolated ecosystem, it's connected and has to be working in parallel and the same speed to make sure, because I think the world on the other side, I've seen some activities back in UAE. People sometimes issue regulation on a weekly basis to just keep up with what's happening on the ground and on market. For example, I remember when we had one of the major markets opened, ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Market. We literally, I used to follow up their website, and they were issuing regulation on a weekly basis. So sometimes, I think in the beginning, we have to rush things together to make sure that we secure the market for investors, secure the market for the startups where they can come up with their ideas and grow organically, and at the same time, regulation has to keep up. I think regulations here in Surat is the lack ideas here. I think both the startups and investors are always available, but I think regulation has to catch up the speed. That's my major points, and hopefully
that's amazing insight, and sort of reiterates sort of a lot of my views as well. I mean, I live in Dubai at the moment, as an example, and people's view of Dubai is, oh wow, amazing infrastructure, great buildings, and I said, well, actually, the better part of it is the ease of living there. It's, you know where you stand, governance is very slick, regulation is very proactive, I guess is what you were saying. It's all the hidden things that you see as well, which makes it an amazing place to do business and to live.
I'll just give a comparison in such of Dubai and things. I want to be, I don't want to elaborate more into UAE or Dubai, but I just want to bring examples of how sometimes startups are becoming more successful when they have a good regulations. I got a guy coming from different part of the world, from US part. So he was thinking to go, where is the next good place that he can put his company. He went around the GCC, okay, and one day he landed in Dubai. trying to ask about how he can open an office or open, like, building his office from zero to the day that he can press and, like, send an email from his office. It took him 7 days in Dubai, from zero to sending his first email and having a setup with his team. It took him almost 7 days. So I think this is the broader picture I would really love to see in here. It's very, I think it's doable. It happens there in Dubai and other part of the world. Here it can happen. But what we can see, it's a full ecosystem behind that enable Dubai or an area to have this speedy way and all of this. And I remember we had one company opened with Shital. It took us almost 10 days to have the company started. And we are working on it. So I think people here should have more interactions, more collaboration, and I would leave the door. I had
Amazing. No, thank you so much. That's really, really helpful, insightful, and I think a lot of people will be interested. I know the Middle East is a very exciting place at the moment, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's the UAE, and the region as a whole generally, and that's really fantastic advice around sort of policy and governance and sort of, I call it sort of the soft wiring, not just hard wiring. The bridges and the buildings are amazing, but also the behind-the-scenes soft wiring as well for connectivity, for governance, for regulation, for just creating that entrepreneurial sort of culture, let's call it, is really fascinating. Over to you, Denise. I appreciate you sort of have some fantastic sort of unique insights into, another region even more east than India. And I think you spent a number of years in sort of Asia generally, in that part of the world. I mean, do you have any specific insights around what that part of the world does better as well, and how that's grown exponentially from a startup ecosystem perspective?
From the China perspective?
Yeah, I mean, any sort of, Singapore, China, Vietnam, wherever you think appropriate in terms of just a general sort of Far East Asia viewpoint rather than the Middle East.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. Actually, I spent some time also helping the UAE companies finding the opportunity in Asia. So from the corridor, from the cross-border perspective, we see a lot of tractions between the MENA and Asia, and also India. So we see the trends focusing various of countries, China, Korea, Japan, India, Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. So we see the trend that the trend starting not just about the largest companies, they find expansion their footprint in MENA. Just a few examples, like in China, they have a lot of infrastructure. In the Middle East, they're expanding. They have a lot of Korea players and EPC contractors and Chinese EPC contractors in the Middle East building a lot of flagship projects. We also see a lot of tech companies coming from Asia and Singapore and Korea. So from China's perspective, because that is my expertise, it's continue to be manufacturing and infrastructure going to the Middle East. And we see different stages, people going to different countries for different reasons, and not just so basically, we look at the 4 stages people go into different countries. And the first is just starting with the sales. It's where you want to expand your market and you want to setting up the rep office and export your, going to the roadshow and the exhibition and find your suppliers or your sales or markets in different countries. And the second stage is when this part of the sales has accounted for a portion of your group of your sales, of your domestic sales. So that is at the developing stage. And the third stage is when you're accelerating your sales, you make that region is part of your global strategy, which we call it as a regional, you will set up a regional presence. And the last stage is the globalization. And then that is where you globally source your manufacturing, your in production costs, and globally looking into your markets. So various of stages, we found people from Asia and China, and they are in different stages, and with a very, I see the trend is various of different stages are pretty much equal, accounted by the number of the corporates. So that means that, but most of them, there's a still large portion in the early stage. So it means they wanted to go out, they want to see how they can, the Middle East market, where the markets, because sometimes the domestic market is very limited and they're already very competitive. Just making an example, one of the China cybersecurities, and in China, they haven't been established yet, but they already set up the business in the UAE, and they founded, and they become very quickly expanding to be one of the top players in China, in the UAE, and they also get the grant from the UAE government, ADIO, with quite a number size of the grant from the government, because that is one of the area the UAE encouraging technology companies to be landed there. And we're also seeing the trend of the, one is technology, and another one is the manufacturing companies, they are setting up the presence in manufacturing. You talk about China, it's relatively cheaper than the UAE. However, the market is in the MENA, and it's close to the consumers. And also UAE and the Middle East in corporate, they have released recently a lot of incentive for the manufacturing to land it in the country. So it makes some sense to look at the MENA region, not necessarily in the GCC. You can also looking into manufacturing in Egypt and other part of the North Africa. So it's globally, you have the mind of where is your market, where you want to set your presence. And also sometimes you find the electricity is also cheaper in the UAE. And also there's the second trend is the third trend is we see a lot of companies setting up the global treasury, their global head office in the MENA, because of the time zone, because of it also close to Africa and Europe. And so some of the Chinese companies, and they set up the global office in UAE and cover the whole globally. So we see various of trend going global corridors. Of course, we're looking into the Middle East companies coming to Asia, Southeast Asia, acquiring high-tech technology company, India, in Southeast Asia, Singapore. We also see that a lot, and particularly in Asia. It's a huge connection between the MENA and the Asia.
Amazing. No, thank you so much, Denise. That's very detailed insight there, which we massively appreciate. Do you want to grab the mic as well? Just in the interest of time, I think we're going to have like a rapid, almost like a one-line or even a one-word trick question almost. Do you believe in the success of India's sort of growth and the startup world? I mean, are you passionate about it? Do you think it's going to be growing and it's going to be doing well? In terms of India's startup ecosystem, you're passionate about it and you think it's going to grow?
Yeah, sure. So I believe, India has a lot of potential, of course. There's a huge population, the ecosystem is buzzing. But one thing which really lacks here is the regulatory processes. I think that's the key. Like what we see in Dubai, and one of my other panelists has mentioned also, if you go to Dubai and start a business, the process takes 7 days. Now they are basically aiming to get to 3 days process, which is an experience. And as you go and start a business, this is the first thing which you would like to know. The other thing which also could be done is basically the funding, because the government-backed venture funding. Because banks, normally commercial banks, do not get into this space at the initial stage of the startups. That's key, because initially you need that. Encourage the PPP, basically. So these are the few things which they need to encourage, have more, so to encourage this ecosystem, basically.
Thank you so much. Quick fire, because I think we're at time.
On the time.
But I guess,
Yeah, of
Anshuman,
course.
hopefully the answer is yes, from an India is the future.
Absolutely. We are looking at India as a, promising land. As John Chambers also said that, it is India's century. So we are at the crux, whatever you guys do, and, I do also, great potential. As our previous panelist said that, don't look for valuation, look for value. Start building your product. The best funding that you could get is non-dilutive funding, which is if you are building something and selling it to the customer, and the customer is paying you, that is the biggest success that you can bring to it. If you are lining up to get funding, it becomes difficult. Let's build something which the investor will line with you. As he said that, the good deal doesn't even travel from Silicon Valley to Los Angeles where I am. They are handpicked. They are under closed door. So try to build value. As soon as you start creating value, you have paying customers, you are already on a success path. So, if you follow those simple rules, then, getting funding also becomes very, very easy. And, anything that you do, this is India's time right now.
Amazing. No, thank you so much. It's really insightful. I think we're at time, actually. But I'm sure you're going to say yes. India is, on the path for greatness, if all works out well from a startup ecosystem perspective. But I really appreciate everyone's time. And look, if you have any other questions, you want sort of more detailed discussion, the 6 of us on the panel here, we're more than happy to connect with you guys. I'm sure you guys don't mind. And no, good luck, everyone. So thank you so much and have a great event.
Thank you so much to all of you, the panelists and the moderator. That was such an insightful conversation, and we had I'm sure, a lot of insights to take back home. So thank you, and I would request Mrs. Babita Podar to please come up on stage and felicitate our guests for today. A round of applause, everyone, please. So first we have Anshuman Sinha, Mr. Anshuman Sinha. Mr. Vivek Kastwar, Mr. Sheetal Soni, Mr. Alkabazi Khalifa, Miss Denzi Zhou, and Mr. Paras Barot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our speakers and guests. Thank you so much.